we bring to you the new episode. We know you have been waiting for this episode. Thank you for staying with us and you watching our stories always. This episode reveals so many secrets. Sit back, relax, as well continue the story from where we stopped. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and turn on your notification bell so you won't miss any of our powerful stories. 1 week later, Ariana received a shocking letter. It was from a law firm. She opened it with trembling hands. Her eyes widened. Margaret had filed a lawsuit. She was accusing Ariana of manipulating Robert, stealing family assets, forcing Robert to change his will. Ariana felt dizzy. "This is a lie," she cried. Robert read the letter and slammed his fist on the table. "She has lost her mind," he shouted. Marcus looked serious. "No," he said quietly. "She is attacking." The first court hearing was held in downtown Chicago. The courtroom was crowded. Reporters, lawyers, curious people. Margaret walked in like a queen. She wore a black suit and high heels. Her face showed no emotion. Ariana sat beside Marcus and Robert. Her hands were shaking. Margaret looked at her. For a moment, their eyes met. Margaret's gaze was cold. Ariana felt a strange pain in her chest. That was the woman who raised her. And now, they were enemies. Margaret stood before the judge. Her voice was calm but emotional. "I raised Ariana as my own child," she said. "I loved her like my flesh and blood." Ariana felt tears in her eyes. "Yet," Margaret continued, "she turned against me when she discovered she was not my biological daughter." People murmured in the courtroom. Margaret looked at Ariana with fake sadness. "She manipulated my husband," she said. "She made him change his will so she could control his wealth." Ariana shook her head. "That's not true," she whispered. But the damage was already done. Robert stood up to testify. His voice was firm. "Ariana did not manipulate me," he said. "She is my daughter in every way that matters." Margaret laughed softly. "Is that what you believe?" she asked. Robert looked at her with pain. "You were my wife," he said. "But you destroyed our family with lies and hatred." The courtroom was silent. Margaret's eyes darkened. Victor Kane stood up. He smiled confidently. "Your Honor," he said, "we have evidence." Ariana's heart stopped. Victor played an audio recording. Margaret's voice filled the courtroom. "She must not get everything. I won't allow it." Ariana froze. "That's not what I meant," she whispered. But the recording sounded bad. Victor smiled. "This proves Ariana's intention to take over the Johnson family wealth," he said. Marcus clenched his fists. "That recording is manipulated," he whispered. But proving it would not be easy. The next day, Ariana's life changed. Social media exploded. Headlines appeared. "Adopted daughter battles billionaire family." Greedy heiress or innocent victim? People judged her. Some insulted her online. Some supported her. Her colleagues looked at her differently. Her friends became distant. Ariana felt lonely. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be publicly humiliated. Just like Margaret had humiliated her. That night, Robert sat alone in his study. He looked tired. "I should have told you the truth earlier," he said softly to Ariana. Ariana sat beside him. "It's not your fault, Dad," she said gently. Robert shook his head. "If I had stopped Margaret years ago," he said, "we wouldn't be here today." Ariana held his hand. "We will survive this," she said. But deep inside, she wasn't sure. Marcus came to Ariana's room late at night. His face looked serious. "I found something," he said. Ariana stood up quickly. "What is it?" she asked. Marcus handed her a folder. Inside were old documents, photos, letters, hospital records. Ariana read them carefully. Her eyes widened. This? She whispered. Marcus nodded. Yes, he said. This is the truth Margaret buried. Ariana looked up at him. Will it destroy her? She asked. Marcus replied quietly. It won't just destroy her. It will destroy everything she built her life on. Ariana felt her heart beat fast. She realized something. The real battle had not even started yet. Ariana sat quietly in Marcus's office, staring at the documents in her hands. Her fingers trembled. These are real? She asked softly. Marcus nodded. Yes, he said. I spent years looking for them. Ariana opened one file. It was a hospital record. Her eyes widened. It showed that Linda, her biological mother, did not die naturally. There was a note written by a doctor. Patient showed signs of severe emotional trauma and forced relocation. Ariana felt her chest tighten. So my mother didn't just die by accident, she whispered. Marcus looked at her sadly. No, he said. She was pushed into a situation that destroyed her life. Ariana felt tears fall. For the first time, she truly understood how cruel Margaret had been. Marcus opened another file. Look at this, he said. Ariana stared at the papers. They were bank records. Large sums of money had been transferred years ago. From Margaret Johnson's account. To unknown people. Ariana's eyes widened. Who are these people? She asked. Marcus replied calmly. The people Margaret paid to make Linda disappear. Ariana covered her mouth. Her heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. So she really did this, she whispered. Marcus nodded slowly. Yes, he said. That night, Ariana showed the documents to Robert. Robert read them silently. His hands trembled. His face turned pale. This can't be true, he whispered. Ariana looked at him with pain. But it is, she said softly. Robert sat down heavily. I trusted her, he said. I defended her. He looked at Ariana with regret. I failed you, he whispered. Ariana shook her head. No, Dad, she said gently. You loved me. That is not failure. Robert closed his eyes. But inside his heart, something had died. The courtroom was packed again. This time, the atmosphere was different. Ariana walked in with confidence. She was no longer the frightened girl. Margaret sat across the room. Her expression was calm. But deep inside, she felt uneasy. Victor Kane leaned toward her. Relax, he whispered. They have nothing. Margaret nodded slowly. But her hands were cold. Marcus stood up in court. Your Honor, he said, we have new evidence. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Victor frowned slightly. Marcus presented the documents. Hospital records. Bank transfers. Old letters. The courtroom became silent. Ariana watched Margaret's face. For the first time, Margaret looked afraid. Victor stood up quickly. These documents are not proven, he said. Marcus smiled calmly. They will be, he replied. Margaret stood up suddenly. Her voice was sharp. This is a lie, she shouted. The judge looked at her sternly. Mrs. Johnson, control yourself, he said. Margaret turned toward Ariana. Her eyes were full of anger and fear. You think exposing me will make you happy? She asked. Ariana looked at her calmly. I don't want revenge, she said softly. I want the truth. Margaret laughed bitterly. The truth? She repeated. The truth will destroy this family. Ariana replied quietly. It already did. After the court session, Victor Kane confronted Margaret privately. You didn't tell me everything, he said calmly. Margaret looked away. I told you enough, she replied. Victor shook his head. No, he said. If these documents are real, you are in serious trouble. Margaret's lips trembled. For the first time, she felt real fear. 3 days later, something shocking happened. A man appeared in court. He was old. His hair was gray. His hands shook slightly. He raised his hand. "I want to testify," he said. The courtroom turned to him. The judge nodded. "State your name," he said. The man swallowed. "My name is Samuel Brooks," he said. Ariana froze. Marcus's eyes widened. Samuel Brooks. One of the men mentioned in the bank transfers. The man Margaret had paid years ago. Ariana felt her heart race. He looked at Margaret. His voice trembled. "I was paid by Mrs. Margaret Johnson," he said, "to take Linda away from the city." The courtroom exploded with shock. Margaret's face turned pale. Samuel continued speaking. "I didn't know she would suffer like that," he said. "I thought it was just relocation." He looked at Ariana. "I'm sorry," he said softly. Ariana felt tears fall. But she didn't speak. Samuel turned to the judge. "Mrs. Johnson planned everything," he said. "She wanted Linda to disappear so no one would know the truth." Margaret stood frozen. Victor Kane slowly sat down. He knew the case was slipping out of his hands. The judge ended the session. But the damage was done. Reporters surrounded Margaret. Cameras flashed. People whispered. For the first time in her life, Margaret felt exposed. At home that night, she sat alone in her luxury bedroom. The silence was heavy. She looked at herself in the mirror. 4 years, she had been powerful, feared, respected. But now, everything was falling apart. And she knew something. The daughter she had humiliated was now the one holding her fate. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Margaret sat alone in her mansion, staring at the ceiling. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Margaret Johnson," a voice said slowly. "You thought the past was buried forever." Her hands trembled. "Who is this?" she whispered. The voice replied, "The one secret you never told Ariana." Margaret's breath stopped. The next morning, Ariana received a message. "Meet me. I know the truth about your mother and your birth." Her heart raced. She showed the message to Marcus and Robert. "This could be dangerous," Robert warned. Marcus nodded. "But it could also be the missing piece," he said. Against fear, Ariana agreed to meet the stranger. They met in a quiet park. A man in his late 40s approached her. His face was serious. "My name is David Carter," he said. Ariana frowned. "I don't know you," she replied. David looked at her deeply. "You don't know me," he said, "but I knew your mother." David told Ariana something shocking. "Linda didn't die because of illness," he said. Ariana froze. "She died because she was scared," he continued. Margaret threatened her. Ariana felt her hands shaking. David swallowed hard. "I was Linda's best friend," he said. "She told me everything before she died." He handed Ariana an old cassette tape. Ariana stared at it. "What is this?" she asked. David replied quietly, "It's your mother's voice." That night, Ariana listened to the tape with Marcus and Robert. The sound was old and shaky. Then a woman's voice came through. "I don't feel safe anymore," Linda's voice said softly. "My sister is trying to control my life. She said my baby will destroy everything she built." Ariana covered her mouth. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Linda's voice continued. "If anything happens to me, please let my child know I loved her." The tape ended. The room was silent. Robert wiped his eyes. Marcus clenched his fists. Ariana felt like her heart had been torn open. For the first time, she heard her mother's voice. Marcus looked at Ariana. "This changes everything," he said. Ariana nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "This is not just a family issue anymore." Robert looked serious. "This is a crime," he said. And for the first time, Ariana realized something. Margaret was no longer just a cruel mother. She was a criminal. 2 days later, police cars surrounded the Johnson mansion. Sirens pierced the air. Neighbors gathered outside. Margaret stood in the living room, frozen. Police officers walked in. "Mrs. Margaret Johnson," one officer said, "you are under arrest for conspiracy, illegal abduction, and obstruction of justice." Margaret laughed bitterly. "So this is how it ends," she said. She turned to Ariana. Their eyes met. For the first time, Margaret looked vulnerable. "You won," she said quietly. Ariana shook her head. "This is not victory," she replied softly. "This is truth." Margaret was handcuffed and led away. Robert watched silently. Marcus held Ariana's hand. And the world watched as the powerful woman fell. News spread everywhere. Headlines appeared. Chicago socialite arrested over sister's disappearance. Family scandal shakes billionaire empire. People debated. Some blamed Margaret. Some blamed Ariana. But Ariana didn't care anymore. She felt empty. She didn't feel joy. She didn't feel revenge. She felt loss. Because no matter how cruel Margaret was, she was still the woman who raised her. Weeks later, Ariana visited Margaret in prison. They sat across a glass wall. Margaret looked older, tired, broken. "You came," Margaret said softly. Ariana nodded. "I needed to see you," she said. Margaret laughed bitterly. "I guess you came to enjoy my downfall," she said. Ariana shook her head. "No," she replied. "I came to understand you." Margaret looked at her. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in decades, Margaret cried. Margaret spoke slowly. "I was afraid," she said. "I was afraid of poverty, shame, and losing control." Ariana listened silently. "I thought if I controlled everything," Margaret continued, "I would never be weak again." She looked at Ariana. "But I didn't know I was creating a monster inside myself." Ariana felt tears in her eyes. "Why did you hate me?" she asked softly. Margaret looked down. "Because," she whispered, "you reminded me of everything I failed to become." As Ariana stood up to leave, Margaret said something unexpected. "Don't become like me," she said. Ariana paused. She turned back. "I won't," she said quietly. But deep inside her heart, she faced a painful question. Should she forgive Margaret? Or should she let hatred win? And that question would change her life forever. The courtroom was silent. Margaret stood before the judge, her hands clasped tightly. Her once powerful voice was gone. The judge spoke firmly. "Mrs. Margaret Johnson, you are found guilty of conspiracy, illegal abduction, and obstruction of justice." Ariana sat quietly beside Robert and Marcus. Her heart beat slowly. She didn't feel victory. She felt sorrow. The judge continued. "You are sentenced to 12 years in federal prison." A gasp filled the courtroom. Margaret closed her eyes. 12 years. Her empire was gone. Her pride was shattered. She turned to Ariana one last time. Their eyes met. Margaret's lips moved slightly. "I'm sorry." Ariana felt tears in her eyes. But she said nothing. Months passed. The Johnson mansion felt empty. Robert stopped attending social events. He spent most of his time in his study. Marcus tried to be close to Ariana. But Ariana felt lost. She often wondered, who am I? Was she a Johnson? A Hill? Or just a girl born from tragedy? One evening, she sat beside Robert. "Dad," she asked softly, "do you still see me as your daughter?" Robert looked at her. His eyes were gentle. "Ariana," he said, "blood didn't make you my daughter. Love did." Ariana cried quietly. One afternoon, Marcus invited Ariana to his house. Daniel was there too. Marcus looked serious. "Ariana," he said, "I want you to come live with me." Ariana froze. "What?" she asked. Marcus nodded. You deserve to know your real family, he said. You deserve to be a hill too. Robert looked shocked. You want to take my daughter away? He asked. Marcus shook his head. I'm not taking her, he said calmly. I'm giving her a choice. All eyes turned to Ariana. Her heart raced. 2 fathers. 2 homes. 1 identity. She didn't know what to say. That night, Ariana couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony, looking at the city lights. Robert walked toward her quietly. You don't have to leave, he said softly. Ariana looked at him. I don't want to lose you, she said. Robert smiled sadly. You won't, he said. I will always be your father, no matter where you live. Ariana felt tears fall. She realized something. Family was not about DNA. It was about who stayed. The next morning, Ariana met Marcus. She took a deep breath. I have made my decision, she said. Marcus looked at her attentively. I will not leave Robert, Ariana said firmly. He raised me. He stood by me. He is my father. Marcus nodded slowly. He didn't look angry. He looked proud. You are stronger than I imagined, he said. Daniel smiled. So I guess I'm still your brother, he said. Ariana smiled faintly. Yes, she said. Years later, Ariana stood on a stage in Chicago. She was now a successful social entrepreneur. She had created a foundation for abandoned children and single mothers. People applauded her. Robert sat in the front row, smiling proudly. Marcus and Daniel were there too. Ariana held the microphone. My life began with rejection and lies, she said. But it did not end there. She looked at the audience. I learned that pain can create purpose, she said, and truth can create freedom. The hall erupted in applause. One day, Ariana received a letter. It was from Margaret. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The letter said, Ariana, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know something. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I destroyed it with my own hands. I am sorry. Margaret. Ariana cried quietly. For the first time, her heart felt lighter. Ariana visited Margaret one last time. Margaret looked weak, but her eyes were calmer. I don't hate you anymore, Margaret said softly. Ariana looked at her. I don't hate you either, she replied. Margaret smiled faintly. Maybe, she said, in another life, I would have been a better mother. Ariana nodded gently. Maybe, she said. Years later, Ariana stood beside Robert's grave. He had died peacefully at old age. Marcus stood beside her. Daniel stood on her other side. Ariana whispered softly, You were right, Dad. Love is stronger than blood. She looked at the sky. Her life had begun with disgrace, but it ended with dignity. Ariana walked away from the grave slowly. She was no longer the disgraced daughter. She was no longer the confused child. She was a woman who turned pain into power. And somewhere behind prison walls, a broken mother whispered her name with regret. Because sometimes, the people who hurt us the most are the ones who never learned how to love.